Now, despite promises of resetting its relations with Moscow to an improved state from the Bush era, there are claims that Washington is continuing with a policy of what's described as military encirclement of Russia. That's the view, at least, of Rick Rozoff, an American political activist and writer, who joins me now on the phone from Chicago. Afternoon to you, Mr. Rozoff. Thanks for taking the time out to talk to us on the programme today. Let me just recap this again. In your latest article, you say the US is continuing with a policy of military encirclement of Russia. And yet you say that at the same time that we're hearing more talk of wanting greater cooperation on both sides. So how do you come to your view, sir?
I suppose I would revert back to the aphorism that actions speak louder than words. And notwithstanding recent comments by U.S. Vice President Joseph Biden and by Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, actions do seem to speak for themselves. I'm looking at today's news, for example. A major NATO delegation has just arrived in Kiev, where they're going to upgrade military ties with Russia's neighbors. Georgia is currently upgrading its annual national program and is in today's news and is talking about converting a mountain training center into a NATO base. I would suggest that rather than talking about resetting, rebooting, and so forth, relations, the first thing the U.S. could do is withdraw military forces from Russia's borders.
But OK, let's be a little optimistic here. Some of the optimists might think you're being a little pessimistic there. Maybe this new administration needs a little time to be able to work a better path forward with Russia. What's in it for America to antagonize Russia anyway?
I don't think it's so much gratuitously antagonizing Russia as it is pursuing geostrategic goals in Eurasia. And Russia's in the way, frankly.
But nevertheless, do you agree that they somehow have to find a path forward and work together?
Well, in fact, they should, and they should have in 1991, instead of 18 years of constant U.S. and NATO military expansion to Russia's borders. Yeah, of course, it's long overdue. I just remain skeptical, and pardon me for bringing up an example this dramatic, but in 1939, German Foreign Minister Ribbentrop restarted relations with Russia. 2 years later, 5 million troops poured across its borders.
OK, we hear history repeats itself. Hopefully it won't repeat itself in that way, but equally, times have to change as well. Let's talk about this future US missile shield project in Europe. Do you think there is a chance that that could be scrapped, despite your pessimism?
I don't think pessimism. I would prefer the term realism, given the last decade. We're living in a world where there have been 3 wars in a 4-year period from 1999 to 2003, Yugoslavia, Afghanistan, and Iraq, respectively. 2 of those fought totally without United Nations sanction. And, we're talking a world where radical and lawless actions are being taken. On the question of the so-called missile shield, which in fact is global, as you know, it also takes in the mainland of Alaska, the Aleutian Islands, Japan, Australia. Russia, in fact, seems to be encircled by that also. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton a couple of days ago applauded the far-sightedness of the Czech and Polish people in welcoming stationing of U.S. third-position missile shield sites. The polls speak for themselves. 60+% of Czechs oppose it. A majority of Poles oppose it. But according to U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, who, by the way, has not relented, neither has Joseph Biden, on the question of deploying these shields, the only argument I've heard is that they're concerned about the effectiveness of it.
So, Mr. Rozoff, looking into your own personal crystal ball there, if you may, for a minute, what do you think the future course of relations is likely to be, then, between Russia and the U.S. over the coming years, under this new administration? Yeah,
I suppose a lot has to do with world developments as a whole, and with Russia's position in particular. Rather than accommodating U.S. designs, and I'm thinking most recently assisting the United States with the transit of non-military goods for the war in Afghanistan, increasingly in Pakistan, incidentally. I see how the U.S. gains in this. I fail to see how Russia does. And I think that, maybe to the great credit of the Russian nation, they're more than willing to accommodate other partners, or I don't know if partners is the word, other nations. But what has resulted from this, and I'm certainly, simply reflecting on statements by prominent Russian public officials, is that we've seen the installation of U.S. military bases in Central Asia, increasingly in the South Caucasus, and Russia should cooperate, but should not cooperate in such a manner as to place itself at a military disadvantage.
Well, Rick Rozoff, U.S. writer and political activist, good to hear your views on the programme today. Thanks for taking the time out to join us.